All right, a very good morning to you, and thank you so much for joining us on the program. It is the maiden edition of the South-East Political Roundtable here on FLO 94.9 FM. It's also live on Aviation online radio and television. Thank you so much. My name is Ginika Olwaha. Now, the 6 geopolitical zones as we have in Nigeria today is not in anywhere mentioned in the 1999 Constitution, but it has become an unwritten rule in the power rotation among the regions. The geopolitical structure is now a major division principle for Nigeria's educational, political, and economic resources, even among the political parties. In going through many democratic experiences, the Southeast geopolitical zone has also contributed in shaping the polity, development, and overall advancement of the national project. While the region boasts of exceptional entrepreneurial people with an economy that is growing rapidly, the Southeast may not have made so much gain in terms of gaining political power. On Southeast Political Roundtable this morning, we shall be looking at the economic, social, cultural, political, and environmental issues bordering the Southeast region in Nigeria. Our maiden guest is a versatile commentator on national issues, former Corps Marshal, Federal Road Safety Corps, former Aviation Minister of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, and former governorship candidate in Anambra State. A lover of the Southeast, he is also a titled man from Obosi in Anambra State. I'm talking about Chief Osita Chidoka Ikobosi. Good morning, Chief. Thank you so much for joining us on the program this morning.
Thank you so much.
Okay, I think maybe we'll just start. Let's start with looking at the importance and the value which Southeast have brought to the Nigerian project. Some people believe we have not done well, while others disagree, really. Do you think the Southeast has added any value to develop Nigeria, and in what area specifically?
Thank you very much. And I want to start by saying that this is a wonderful program by FLO FM, and that it's a great opportunity for us to have an internal conversation about the role of the Southeast in Nigerian politics and the role of Ndigbo in Nigerian affairs. It is no doubt that the Southeast has added tremendous value to Nigeria. Nobody is in doubt that in the post-independence, in the pre-independence Nigeria, Dr. Nnamdi Azikiwe was in the vanguard for the independence of Nigeria. And together with a lot of young Igbo people from Osita Abuna, Mokugu Okoye, Emayopara, Dr. Ikejiani, Amechin Bazulike, and of course with other Nigerians from the southwest and from the north, worked for the independence of Nigeria. Post-independence, Nigeria was stabilized because of the what I would call the NCNC, NPC coalition government. That coalition government made it possible for the NPC with the highest number of seats in the parliament in 1959 to form the government of Tafawa Balewa. And he also made it possible for that coalition to bring Dr. Nnamdi Azikiwe as the Governor General and later President of Nigeria, and with Akweke Urizu as the Senate President, with Chief Awolowo as a minority leader in the opposition in the House of Reps in 1959. Now, if you look at that formation, it stabilized Nigeria. The Southeast played a major role.
Okay.
But before then, I want to point out something to many young people who may not know this. In 1959, the NCNC fought the election together with NEPU, the Northern Elements Progressives Party. That is, NEPU is a party led by Aminu Kano. It was an NCNC-NEPU alliance that fought the 1959 election together. Okay. And in that election, the NCNC-NEPU scored the highest number of votes. but they got 89 seats. They had more votes than the MPC, who then got 134 seats, if I was correct, in the north. So the eastern region, which was the strong base of the NCNC, and Lagos, together with the area that we now currently know as Kanu, Kaduna, Katsina, Jigawa, that 4 areas were in alliance with the NCNC in 1959. So with that alliance, the NCNC got more votes than the MPC in 1959, but it got the second highest number of seats.
Okay.
So it was the merger of MPC and NCNC, the alliance between the MPC and the NCNC, that stabilized the early government of 1959 till 1963, when we had a president, when we turned our constitution to a Republican constitution, and Zik became the first president of Nigeria.
Okay.
It was until the coup of 1966 that a major rupture came between the Southeast and the North. Now, for most people, what happened in 1959 was that the Southwest, led by Chief Obafemi Awolowo, was keen on forming a government around the Southwest base and the middle minorities. He was promising the minorities that he will allow them regions and more autonomy. So he was in alliance with the JS Taka movement. He wanted the Cross River or Goja Rivers people to support him. He wanted to build a coalition of the Southwest and the Middle Belt and the minorities to form a government, and that did not happen. So in understanding what has happened today, there was a rupture in the Southwest at that time when Akintola became the premier of the Southwest. He then said that there was no need for the action group to remain in opposition, that it was better that the action group teams up with the North in such a way that they will be able to benefit what the Southeast was benefiting, because the Southeast was then chairman of railways, head of many parastatals. They got good appointments in the, even though it was four ministers from all the regions, but the Southwest felt that the East was now enjoying more than them. This was the Akintola's view.
Wow.
So by 1962, when the action group went to their Congress in Jos in 1962, Akintola left the Congress to go and receive Balewa, who was Sadana, who was visiting Ibadan. And he never came back to that convention because there was a split in that convention that was whether they should team up with the North or whether they should continue to work with the Middle Belt. It was in that convention that the action group elected S.G. Ikoku as the secretary of the party, beginning the relationship between that minorities, the opposition in the Southeast, to be able to form a government. Now, why I'm giving you this history is that many people do not understand and will not know the history of the role the Eastern region then and now the Southeast have played, even up till 1979, when the MPP-MPN Accord led to the fact that Ikweme was vice president and Umezuoke was the speaker of the House of Reps.
Okay.
So it is that coalition in 1979 that gave the Igbos one of their finest outing 9 years after the Civil War to get into the center of government. So what has happened in the APC is that the Akintola tendency in the Southwest, led by Chief Bola Ahmed Tinubu, have now formed an alliance with the Northwest, with the North generally, with the Buhari election in 2015, and now the election of Bola Ahmed Tinubu in 2023. That alliance is what Akintola had always preached and what Awolowo had always rejected. And Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, who claims to be an Aoist, have adopted the Akintola formula to now win national power again for the Southwest.
Okay.
So, in 1999, it was a coalition of the North, the Southeast, and the South-South that elected President Obasanjo. And that election of President Obasanjo was because the North and the Southeast felt that it was only fair for a Southwesterner to become president. But in 2023, the Southwest did not reciprocate by feeling that it will only be fair that after the Southwest has ruled for 8 years under Obasanjo, 8 years as vice president of Obasanjo, that it was the turn of the Southeast to be president. So there is a break in that Southern coalition which was a northeast, northwest, north central, southeast, south-south, that elected President Obasanjo in 1999. So what we are witnessing today in Nigeria is that the southeast has been a calming effect on Nigeria. We have been able to tie the bands that hold us together. And it is important that people understand that we have paid serious prices for it. We are the only ethnic group in Nigeria that have consistently voted for non-Igbos at an 80% level.
Okay.
We voted for Obasanjo at over 80% level. We voted for Yaradua at over 80% level. We voted for Atiku Abubakar at over 80% level. We voted for President Jonathan Goodluck at over 80% level. We have consistently, unlike any other region in Nigeria, the Southwest in 1999 voted for Falaye in 1999.
Okay.
They did not vote for Obasanjo, but they voted for Yoruba Man. The North voted for Obasanjo in 1999, but from 2003 till 2015, the majority of the votes in the North went to President Buhari. So it's only the Southeast that have consistently voted. The first time we voted for an Igbo man was in 2023, when we voted for Peter Obi in Labour Party.
Okay.
So I'm giving this to frame the conversation that what we have today in Nigeria is a rejection of our national consensus about zoning, a deviation from the truth and justice that underline the Section 2 of our Constitution, which is the part of our Constitution, though not justiciable, but forms the basis of our existence as a country. It is that Chapter 2 that says we should rotate power, we should use the federal character, we should use zoning to make sure that all parts of Nigeria feel a sense of belonging.
Okay.
Sadly, that part of the Constitution is not being upheld as I thought it should.
Okay, Chief, we'll get into all that as we progress on the show. But let's look at some of the achievements made by the people of Southeast in Nigeria as a whole. When you go to Kano, you see the development there. When you trace such development, you see that Igbos have contributed. If you go to Lagos, same thing, Abuja, and other parts of the country. But when you get back to the Southeast, it appears that that development is actually lacking. What exactly is the problem?
So when you go with that line of thinking, you fall into a trap. Nigeria is a country, and that country means that anybody in Nigeria is free to invest and live anywhere he wants in Nigeria. So by making it an Igbo development in Kano, no. The fact that we didn't build the second Niger bridge was a tax on all Nigerians, because it wasn't only the Igbos that used the bridge. The fact that we have buildings and hospitals, hotels, residential buildings, markets all over the country is an expression of our belief in the Nigerian state. So I'm always careful not to reduce our Nigerianness to Igbos making investment outside of Igbo land. But let us come back to the facts of the matter. The Igbos are making investments outside of Igbo land, but you are not following the logic of the development of the Southeast. The development of the Southeast, I can tell you, we must look at from the prism of our social indicators. We have the highest literacy rate in Nigeria from the Southeast. The number of people that apply for WAEC, JAMB every year, the highest number comes from the Southeast. Not just the Southeasterners living outside the Southeast, but from schools in the Southeast. If you look at maternal mortality, we have the lowest maternal mortality in Nigeria.
Okay.
If you look at the incidence of poverty, we have the lowest incidence of multidimensional poverty in Nigeria. If you look at goals like HIV, if you look at infant mortality, if you look at other social indicators, the Southeast is comparable to the other zones to the Southwest, and sometimes better than every other zone in Nigeria. So when people say to me that the Southeast is not developed, I said, okay, let's look at two things. The Southeast is a small geographical area. We are 29,000 square kilometers.
Okay.
That 29,000 square kilometers is the size of Kogi State. So we really don't have great land for farming, as it were, if we were to compare that Niger State is over 70-something thousand square kilometers. And we are not living by any major seaport in terms of we are not living by any ocean. So our place is more or less landlocked, if not for the rivers that gives us access to the ocean. If you look at the issue of water, we do not have great water bodies in our area. If you look at Anambra, all the way from Aguata down to Umunze, going all the way to Ogu and Inri, going to Ebonyi, and all the way to Ohafia Arochukwu, that belt of Igbo land have no water. Even to drill boreholes there are difficult. So naturally, what it means is that we needed to migrate to the service industries of Nigeria to begin to provide the opportunity for us to trade in Nigeria, for us to embrace education, for us to live outside of the Southeast to be able to thrive. So when people say there is no development in the Southeast, is akin as saying about other countries that share our similar features. But what is missing in the Southeast is that we need a different kind of leadership here to be able to make it possible for the Southeasterners to be able to manage our resources the way Israel has managed their land resources, to provide the kind of good governance that protects property rights and make it easy to transfer properties and make it easy for people to live in a livable environment. And I will come to that when we discuss the Southeast greatly. But I'm just saying that the Southeast has done well in terms of all social indicators in Nigeria.
Okay, so Chief, let me take you back to where we started from, the issue of political development in Nigeria and all that. Now, upon return of democracy in 1999, the Southeast have actually struggled, to clinch power at the center, even with all the contribution it has made over time. When you reeled out the contributions of the Southeast to making sure that people from other zones were elected as president of Nigeria. But it appears so difficult for the Southeast to actually produce a president of the country. What should be the reason for such setback?
So I think there are two sides to that coin. Number one is that by our numerical strength, our vote share, our share of votes in Nigeria by zone, the Southeast produces the least share of votes in terms of, if you look at zone by zone, the Southeast produces roughly 8 to 9% of vote share in Nigeria. The South-South is about 12, 13%. The Southwest is about 17, 18%. The sometimes tending to 19. The middle belt is somewhere around 17 to the 18% belt. And then the Northwest is about 30% of our votes, and the Northeast is about 20, 22% of our votes. So if you look at that structure, you will see that the Southeast needs to build a coalition to be able to make it to the presidency.
Okay.
And that coalition was built by Ekwueme in aligning with key stakeholders of the old MPN to be able to win the PDP primaries. But the military that was in power at that time truncated it by bringing in President Obasanjo with the argument that we needed to assuage the Southwest for the events of June 12. Now, if you look at that, after Obasanjo had been president, by the zoning of the country, he ought to go to the north. So he went to the north with Yar'Adua. Unfortunately, President Yar'Adua died. So we then had President Goodluck, who was also from the South-South, the old Eastern region. At that time, there was virtually no need for an Igbo man to be contesting against President Goodluck, who, as you know, was not supposed to be president at that time, was supposed to be in the north. So the idea that Goodluck will finish his 4 years, 2 years of Yar'Adua, 1 year more or less as president, and he got a second term, next term, which he did for 4 years, and then wanted another term, which he then lost to President Buhari. So power went back to the north. Now, it was after Buhari's 8 years, the PDP, that was the main backbone of the Southeast, we ought to have zone that ticket to the Southeast, because it was now the
Hello, Chief.
The Southwest, the APC was going to present a Southwest candidate, and the pathway for PDP to regain power was to present a Northern candidate, and the delegates support that. I still think the PDP should have zoned it to the Southeast. But when we made that strategic error and gave it to the North, it meant that the Southeast came out in strong voice, supported by the South-South, to vote against the PDP. Now, voting against the PDP meant that both the gains we made back in the North, because Atiku Abubakar won the Northwest, won the Northeast, but not with great margins. If we had gotten Southeast and South-South, we would have won that election. But the splitting of the vote made sure that it made it possible for APC to now, using all forms of the shenanigans of INEC's misbehavior, to get to the election. Now, so that splitting of the vote is what the Southeast need to avoid. We need to work with a platform that brings a coalition of Nigerians. So if it is the Northwest, Northeast, even if we win it at 30-40%, with the Southeast and South-South behind us and parts of the Middle Belt, we'll win a presidential election any day. So what is lacking now is that craftsmanship, is that salesmanship, and that negotiating capacity for us to negotiate with the rest of with the certain parts of the country. For us not to accept that the Southwest, who are our competitors in the struggle for power in Nigeria, is now replacing us in the coalition that normally will work together, the coalition that elected Obasanjo, the coalition that elected Yar'Adua, and that coalition now is now under threat because we haven't been able to rebuild that coalition. It's something we can go alone, but it's something that we need to work on going forward.
Okay, Chief, before we form any coalition, I mean, the people of Southeast, share that coalition with other parts of the country, you first of all have to organize yourself, be united, first of all, because we've seen cases in the time past that Southeast, there's this general notion by people from other parts of the country that they believe that the Southeast, they are not always united to form a force. And it has actually caused them a whole lot of setbacks politically. Now, if you are forming a coalition, are you not supposed to, first of all, organize your people? Take, for instance, what happened in the just concluded 2023 general election, when somebody from the Southeast, came out, but there were these dissenting voices here and there. That unity was not felt. Are we not supposed to be united, first of all, before launching out?
Again, this is false narrative, and I don't know why Igbos will buy that false narrative. Let's go back to the voting numbers. In 1959, the Eastern region voted en masse for NCNC, for Zig. In 1964 general election, the Southeast, the Eastern region, boycotted the election of 1964. Nobody cast a vote in the Eastern region. The whole Eastern region was on lockdown. We didn't vote for anybody. Despite the fact that there were people like SG Coke in Action Group, there were people in Nepal, there were others. All of the masses of the South stayed away, boycotted the polls in 1964. It was in March 1965 that the election was now done in the Eastern region, at which time, of course, M.I. Opara won the election. The NCNC won totally in the Southeast and South-South. If you come to 1979, Zeke won the Anambra State, the old Anambra State, at 82%. He won Imo State at 88%. So I don't know what to call unity again. Despite the fact that the Chubok Kadibos, the Nyanwodos were in NPN, which is good for us, I mean, it's politics. Despite the fact that the people like Chinua Achebe, Aton Wanko, Chukwu Merije were in PRP, the bulk of Igbo votes went to MPP to Zik. If you come back to the SDP NRC, you will see the voting pattern of the Igbos. Those were two official parties. But come back to the 1999 election. The East voted over 80% for Obasanjo. In 2003, Obasanjo won the East at about 78%. In 2007, Yar'Adua won the East at close to 80% of the votes. In 2011, President Jonathan won at 90% of the votes cast in the Southeast. In 2015, he won again at almost 84% of the votes cast in the Southeast. In 2019, Atiku Abubakar won the Southeast at over 80-something%. In Anambra State, it was about 95%. In 2023, the Southeast cast almost 90%, 88% of their votes for P2B.
Okay.
So who says the Southeast is not united? What do you people mean by the united Southeast? If others cannot express their desire to belong to other political parties, it is their right. In Buhari's North, he's been challenged by Aminu Tambuwal. He's been challenged by Kwankwanso. He's been challenged by Atiku Abubakar. Nobody has said the North is not united, despite the fact neither Shagari, in 1979, Shagari did not win any northern state at over 60%, over 60-something%. Reason, Aminu Kanu was running. Wazir Ibrahim was running. Nobody said the North was divided. Awolowo had always won the Southwest at 80-something% of their vote cast. The Southwest did the same for Obasanjo in 2003, almost at 90%. They voted Obasanjo, they voted in 2003, they voted Falaye in 99. Those were the two high points of Southwest vote, the one they now did for President Tinubu. Even at that, with President Tinubu running the election, he lost in Osun State, he lost in Lagos. He didn't make up to 80% in any Southwest state. So is that unity? What is more unity than the votes P2B got in the Southeast? We should be guided by the numbers.
Okay.
No zone in Nigeria had voted for their own, except Buhari, who was winning the North at almost 80-something% of the votes. But when Atiku challenged him, he averaged about 70% in the North, 70-something%. So there is no truth in that statement that the Southeast is not united. The Southeast is united. Everybody knows that the Southeast vote will go in the direction that they believe in. The fact that there are people in other political tendencies is part of our Republican nature. We cannot be a one-state party.
Okay.
So whoever says that what we need to do in the Southeast is to unite is not guided by history and facts.
All right, if you're just joining us, it's still the South-East Political Roundtable. It's live here on FLO 94.9 FM, also on ABN Online Radio and Television. We'll take a breather now, Chief. When we come back, we'll look at other issues, especially where it affects the economy and the security of the Southeast region. Please do stay with us. All right, welcome back to the program. It's still the Southeast Political Roundtable, and it is live here on FLO 94.9 FM, so as ABN Online Radio and Television. My name is Ginika Olwoha, and Chief Osita Chidoka is the former Aviation Minister and the former Co-Marshal of the Federal Road Safety Corps, the former governorship candidate in Anambra State. He is also a titled man from Obosi in Anambra State. He is my guest. Welcome back, Chief Osita Chidoka, the Obosi. Welcome back.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
All right. Now, let's talk about security in the Southeast. With the whole security architecture being controlled by the federal government of Nigeria, where does it leave the security situation in the Southeast? Because the governors appear to be struggling to make sure that there's adequate security of lives and property in the region. And when they do not control the security agencies, what becomes of the region in terms of security?
Well, the security situation in the Southeast is not in isolation of the security situation in Nigeria. There is massive breakdown of security in the country. Massive. Mm-hmm. It is worsened by the last 8 years when President Buhari, in his nepotistic appointments, destroyed the security agencies. And I fear that it will take us many years to recover from that destruction. But beyond President Buhari, if we go back in time, the major challenge is the fact that we turned our security agencies into employment opportunities for the boys, for our constituents, for our friends. And those people are now in the hierarchy, in the top hierarchy of the police, in the army, in the DSS. So we have unintelligent people managing our intelligence agencies. we have poorly recruited and poorly trained people managing our security agencies. Now, let me give you a small scenario. If you look at the police, and if you look at the amount of money in the budget of police, if you hear 400 billion voted for police, and if you look at the structure of it, almost 90% of the money is for salaries. Only about 3% or 4% of their money, of their budget, is for capital expenditure. And they have less than 5-6% for recurrent. What does that mean? Police stations have to pay fuel costs for their vehicles. They have to pay electricity bills because electricity has been privatized. They have to pay for uniforms for their men. They have to be allotted bullets for their officers. They have to be allotted tear gas and all that. And they also have to feed the detainees in their cells. Many people have forgotten that. So when you arrive at a police station today, you buy paper to write statement.
Okay.
You give police money to go for investigation. If you want them to go and arrest somebody, you provide them fuel money. You give them money to feed the people that are detained, if you want anybody detained. So what we have now is a broken down security system. So it is not peculiar to the Southeast. The Southeast governors are definitely frustrated because the quality and the capacity of the manpower we have in the security architecture of Nigeria is not capable of delivering security. In the peculiar instance of the Southeast, we have that massive security failure together with a strong feeling of marginalization that has fueled secessionist agitations. Now, if you look at that, the secessionist agitation started going by protest, by talking online, and now it has metamorphosed to violent activities. Now, we also have a second challenge, the incursion of farmer header crisis. That is to say, terrorist Fulani, not the cattle rearers. These are terrorists who are armed with AK-47, who come from other parts of Africa, or who comes from other parts of Nigeria, now in the bid to protect the cattle rearing headers, have turned violent in the forest around the Southeast, and in the South, and Southwest, and even in the North. They are now who you call bandits in the North. Those people have also turned to kidnapping, killings in the process of so-called protection of their headsmen. Because the headsmen we know from the North only walk around with sticks, young boys with sticks carrying their cattle. If they destroy a farm, they normally will negotiate and pay for it. But now we have AK-47 wielding criminals, terrorists, who are masquerading as headsmen and are operating across the country. So if you put that terrorist groups that are now ravaging the country, starting all the way from the Sahelian belt, from Niger, Chad, to the northeast, northwest, and now to the forest of the Southeast, and then with the secessionist agitation, with the security failure of the security agencies, then you...
Hello, Chief?
Is in that situation because the states do not have powers of policing. But I have a solution for them.
Okay.
And I think that I don't think the federal government, the state government has stopped from doing that. All the 5 governors of the Southeast, including the governors of the 36 states, all have security votes. That security vote has been elevated to slush fund, monies that you can spend without accountability. And I think it is wrong. That's not the idea of security votes. But he has turned into that. I am saying that if every state in the Southeast looks at all the police stations that they have, look at all the DPOs they have, open an account in banks for them, and begin to provide an accountable fund for the police station management. First of all, I think we should rebuild all our police stations, give them solar power, and give them light. Then we should have a system of paying their bills, their NEPA bills, their fueling bills, using that state security fund. And then also we will provide them with mobility. So even if we provide vehicles, we will provide filling stations where they can go and fuel with cars provided by the state. And then we can also give them more arms and ammunition than the federal government is supplying them. And then we can provide them with maintenance facilities to make sure the vehicles are well maintained. Now, we can also incentivize the police that, by the vehicles we buy from the state, the police officers will have every 4 years, we are going to change it, and the police officers will have the first right of purchase of those vehicles so that they will keep it in good shape. Now, what this will mean is that we will, instead of calling the commissioner and giving him 10 million naira every month or 20 million as the case may be, which he pockets, we are now transferring money from the security vote for the security of our people. So if we adopt this model, if any state can adopt this model, I believe the whole 36 states can do that. If on the average, every state spends 1 billion naira a month on policing, funding the police structures in their state, that will be 36 billion naira. That will be 12 billion naira a year. So if you times 36 billion by 36 states, you will see that that is more than the budget of the police, and that will give us better policing outfits. Because what is important in police is the recurrent expenditure. So since the federal government has taken the burden of the salaries, with this, we can even pay for their training. We can even invite policemen from our different parts of the world. We can even digitize their operation in our peculiar states. And we can agree with the police to leave policemen posted in our region for a period of at least 4 years to 6 years, so that we can also train them and use them in the peculiar work of the Southeast. Again, we need to provide barracks for the police people in the Southeast. Because when policemen live with the citizens, I mean, some will live with the citizens, but the people that go for operations need to do those operations and return to a secured barracks. I've seen police officers refusing to go on serious operation because at the end of work, he changes into his mufti. He is not armed. He doesn't have a gun, and he has to go home back to the village. And then he's open to brigands who have AK-47. So we need to think about some form of barracks for our operational police force so that they will go back every day at the end in secured environment. So these are some of the things I think we will do to be able to improve security in the Southeast. We need to stop talking about security as if it is something out of the moon. It is a work that needs recurrent expenditure. It is not a work that is about just capital votes. We donate vehicles to them. How do you fuel the vehicles? How do you maintain the vehicles? You want them to patrol the streets. You want them to move around. How do you secure them to be able to do that work without fear of favor? So I think that if we can adopt that strategy in the Southeast, other parts of Nigeria can take that cue from us. So I believe that we should stop the issue of just saying security failure to taking proactive action in that direction. Now, in the Southeast, we also have a peculiar situation where we have security vigilante groups.
Okay, because I was going to ask about that.
Security vigilante groups into our security architecture. So every security vigilante in every village will be trained, will be recorded, biometrics captured, together with anybody that is a megad in any house in the Southeast. So we can give them information applications on their phone that will make it possible for them to report crime, that will make it possible for them to contact the state police call center and support to them. So integrating our security architecture of vigilantes, megads, civil defense, and road safety working in our region to become a single security architecture is something our state governments can pioneer by working with those federal agencies to agree on how to support the ones working in their states. So if we can do that, together with the town unions we have in the Southeast, and also with a proper planning of our cities and villages, and a proper documentation of tenants and landlords in every house, so that we know the people living in our zone. Everybody in our zone that is above 18 must get a national identity number or BVN, so that landlords and people who occupy houses can report the people who live in their houses. Villages must be made to know their sons who committed crimes, so that people will know the families on which these criminals are going for. One of the proudest moments for Igbo people is their village. Igbo people like to be known in their community. So if we begin to name and shame people in their communities, it will do a long way to reduce crime. You must figure out in every society what is important to the people. And what is important to Igbo people most times is the pride they have in their community, their good standing in their community. So if we deny you that good standing by reporting that your children, your nephews, your nieces are involved in criminality, then security will become the work of everybody in the Southeast.
Okay, Chief, let's talk about the youth and how the Southeast economy can grow. You've interacted very closely with youths, especially those ones from the Southeast, so you are in a better position to tell us what their mindset is like, in terms of developing the Southeast economically and other stakeholders. What do you think, or what area do you think the youths of the Southeast, can come in to see how they can develop the economy of the region?
I don't know if it is the work of the youth to develop the economy of the region, but they are participants. They provide the workforce. Part of the challenges we have is a skills gap in the Southeast. Our educational system is doing well in examination passing, in cramming and regurgitating, but we need to move to a skills-based economy as the world transits. I believe that our education in the Southeast can be tweaked. Because of our level of education, 93% of our school-going children are in primary school. About 89% make it to secondary school. And the absence of vocational technical schools in the Southeast to provide people with real capacity, with real skills, is a challenge. We need to restore skills in the Southeast. And then our university education that has become more or less the Western type university education needs to be tweaked a bit for us to focus on technology. But what I think most is that the Southeast should come together to build what I call a Southeast university system. The idea of merit of elite schools must be introduced in the Southeast. The way people pass to go to Government College Omahia, Government College Afibo, DMGS Onitsha, we must restore about one school per senatorial zone in the Southeast into boarding schools with a common entrance exam for the 5 states, so that our best and brightest, both living in the Southeast and outside the Southeast, and non-Southeasterners who want to get high-quality education at a premium should be able to come to the Southeast to attend these schools that will restore. So it is a reverse replication of the idea of the federal government colleges, but this time that is merit-driven, so that we can produce the incentive for our young people to remain competitive. We should not allow the Nigerian quota system, the Nigerian what I call cutoff mark system, to reduce our capacity as a people to go to the higher levels of education. With that, a single university that is merit-based, that is cost-reflective for the Southeast state universities, can become like the California State University system, which is the UC Berkeley, UC San Francisco. They have multiple colleges in the state of California. So I have proposed to the Southeast that we need to form a cohesive education system that competes with global peers. Our global peers should be Poland, Singapore, Malaysia. We should look at those areas that people are thriving in education and convert the Southeast as the powerhouse, the engine house of providing education for the oil and gas sector, for the telecommunication sector, for the industrial sector, for the ICT sector. These areas need manpower, and the Southeast can become the manpower producers for this, so that our young people can compete globally. In India, the Institute of Management in India remains a prime university, where when they publish the list of those who passed, it's a national event in India. You go and look at the list, you will see top scores. And that is why Indians are the CEOs of the top technology companies in the US today. So we can make the Southeast to be driven by merit, so that those that are even below those first can go to the other schools there and still have the manpower to support the Eastern economy. I think we are lacking in the type of manpower that will take us to that knowledge economy, which should be our major target. We are not a great agriculture economy, but we can be an agriculture enhancing value-adding economy. We can be a technology economy. We can be a knowledge economy where people want to go for education. And it is sad today that if you look at the top scorers in JAM, who usually come from the Southeast, and you look at the schools they are choosing, to go to. Many of them are choosing schools that are outside of the Southeast. So we need to reverse the local brain drain, where everybody that is 2-1 first class is going to the golden triangle of Abuja, Lagos, and Port Harcourt. We need to be able to begin to make the East a hub for employment. So 3 things I propose that our governors do in the Southeast.
Okay. All right, Chief. Okay, we're actually running out of time, and it's time for us to open the phone lines. I will urge you to please, still stand by while we take some few calls from our listener. I'm sure they will have 1 or 2 questions.
Before we take that call, can I make these 3 suggestions that I think the Southeast government should focus on?
Okay, go ahead.
So that they can then react to that.
Okay.
Number 1, I think we should stop the fetish. I think we should stop this Southeast fetish with seaports and railways. Railways are good, but they are expensive and they are not profitable when they are not operating in long distances. The Southeast is 29,000 square kilometers. Doing our road from Port Harcourt to Enugu to Onitsha to Owerri, and Owerri to Port Harcourt will make the Southeast somewhere you can traverse within the space of 4 or 5 hours. You've gone around the Southeast using the highways. Please, we should use the money to develop our highways. Second one, we should restore basic amenities to our cities. I don't know why people that do not have running water in Onitsha, in Aba, in Enugu, we don't have running water in Oka, we don't have pipe-borne water, which the colonial masters provide, are talking about railways, standard gauge railways, monorails. The monorail in Addis Ababa that's sponsored by the Chinese have failed. It is now running at losses. The Nairobi-Mombasa rail line is at $200 million losses as at the last count. The Chinese are planning to take it over. The Lagos-Ibadan railway was built at the cost of $6.5 million per kilometer. That money will enhance the Southeast road network and enhance our industrial base. So I think we should focus on the small things. We should build new schools. We should enhance the quality of our existing schools. We should build pipe-borne waters and sewage management systems. We should make our land registries digital so that people can transact in property rights freely.
All right.
We should go digital with our governance infrastructure instead of focusing on the fetish of seaports and railways. We have One Seaport, we have Ibaka Seaport coming in Akwa Ibom, we have Port Harcourt Seaport. They are all less than 100 kilometers away from most of Igbo states. So I think that our focus should be making our cities livable to attract back our Igbo diaspora inside Nigeria.
All right.
Thank you.
Okay. So, Chief, just hang on. Let us stay behind. Let us take the calls now. My guest has been the former Aviation Minister, former Corps Marshal, FRSC, and the title Chief of the Obosi Kingdom in Anambra State. He calls himself Chief Osita Chidoka. He's my guest, and he'll still be here to take some questions from you, our wonderful listener. It's time for you to call in. The numbers to call are 080-8182-6949 or 08116052949. Can also send your SMS on 090-651-08289. We are looking at how best to move the Southeast region forward, both politically and economically. Talk to us now. Hello? Good morning. Hello?
Yes, Mr. Gineka, good afternoon.
Good morning. Welcome.
Good morning.
Go ahead.
This is Dr. Ken. I call from Calabar.
Okay.
Please, I have a question for your guest. Please, I want him to tell us the Southeast, his score card when he was the Corps Marshal of the road safety, the minister. Because they said charity begins at home. So let us know his score card, his contribution to the Southeast first.
Okay.
That's my question.
Thank you so much. He will react to that, but let's take another call now. Hello, good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Gineka.
Good morning, welcome.
Thank you. My former aviation minister and road safety, I thank you, sir. I thank you for your good, speech this morning. I am very happy. My name is Mr. Chidoka. I'm calling from Bende Road. Well, my brother, I want to say that the major problem I discover in Southeast is that most of our leaders, our past leaders and the present, does not have the masses at heart. In a situation, somebody will finish, somebody will have opportunity as a governor or a senator, and he cannot think of what to do for people. He will see it as an opportunity to acquire wealth, and it's not good for Igbos. Secondly, I want to beg Igbos, if we want to develop, let us support a good government. In a situation, somebody will finish as a governor, and he will want to put somebody who is not capable to be on his seat. So it's not good. So, Southeast, let us put our people at heart in whatever we are doing.
Thank you so much, Chidoka, for calling us there. Hello, good. Okay, 08081826949 or 08116052949. Let's take another call now. Hello, good morning.
Yes. Good morning, Senator. Good morning, Osita Chidoka. My name is Enoch Ibukekuru, calling you from Omaya. In my own opinion, I think one of the factors that have always prompted the South-Easterners to go to other regions to run their businesses is having no enabling environment. For instance, we do not have any support here. Even those that are close to us in Port Harcourt and Calabar had long been made unfunctional by the federal government. As a result of this and other factors, our people are then forced to move to other regions like the Southwest. Due to the support in Lagos, the headquarters of many companies are located there, and other business enabling factors. They moved there, they took there to run their businesses, using humongous amounts of money to stampede farms in order to build warehouses and residential buildings, thereby developing the region while leaving theirs behind. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much for calling us there. I think I should return to Chief. Chief, I'm sure you must have heard some of the questions raised by our callers. What's your reaction to them?
Yeah, the first person wanted to know my contributions to the Southeast. And I don't know, I think the person should have asked Google. That would have been a good way to start. But I will just give a brief answer to that. So, as co-marshal of the Federal Road Safety Commission, in terms of realigning that organization, making it an organization that is capable of delivering value to Nigerians, and making it the first law enforcement agency to be ISO 9001 certified, making it the first agency in Nigeria to receive a $10 million World Bank grant to upgrade infrastructure. But in terms of the Southeast, this is a place that when I assumed office at the Federal Road Safety, the only plant producing number plates in the country was in Lagos. I decentralized it, and the Anambra State government under P2B gave us land and made a donation of land in Oka to build a number plate factory. So when you see the number plates that you are using in the Southeast is being produced, and the South in Oka, that factory is running, and it has the capacity to produce multiple things in that place in Oka. It's standing there. If you look at if you are from Enugu and you look at the FRSC Academy, it used to be in Jos. We brought it back to Enugu. That is not possible. It is not possible that the people in the state all vote for the same party. So I think that the Southeast has to develop what I call a more activist approach.
But Chief, in the issue of conducting local government election where one party will win all the seats, don't you think it's a constitutional matter where a state electoral commission will conduct, a local government election, and you know that it's the governor that appoints the chairman of the state independent electoral commission. So obviously, won't he do the bidding of the person that appointed him?
So if that be the case, then President Jonathan shouldn't have lost the election because he appointed Jega as the chairman of INEC. If that be the case, we won't be talking about election rigging and election infractions against INEC, because we'll have said APC appointed Jega. Why are we quarreling? I think that the Southeast, nobody goes to court to challenge the elections of the local government chairman.
Okay.
I've not heard of any case in court. Nobody even writes to say that the State Independent Electoral Commission do not even have the capacity or the manpower to conduct the elections that they do. They just write the results. If you look at Kaduna State, they went and brought in electronic voting in Kaduna. And automatically you saw that PDP won some local governments in Kaduna, APC won some.
Yes.
When you saw the INEC conduct the FCT elections, local government elections, PDP defeated the APC in 3 or 4 local governments. So what we need to do in the Southeast is to stop focusing on the nation all the time and focus on ourselves sometimes. Why would our state independent electoral commissions not be peopled by respected people, not have the infrastructure? Where are our NGOs in the Southeast who go to raise alarm that this independent electoral commission is not planning to conduct election? They do not have the manpower or the wherewithal. So we need to stop focusing on just saying our politicians are not good. Nobody with discretion is always good. People behave well because of the struggle between the people and the leaders. All over the world, the people have focused on fighting their leaders to make sure they stay on the path of rectitude.
All right.
So I think that there's a large feeling in the Southeast in terms of our activism to make our governance infrastructure work.
All right. I think we should just leave it at that. Let me sincerely thank you, the former Aviation Minister, former Corps Marshal, Federal Road Safety Corps, and title Chief of Obosi Kingdom in Anambra State, Chief Osita Chidoka. Thank you so much. We really appreciate your input on this program, the South-East Political Roundtable. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right.
Appreciate it. And please keep it up.
All right.
Keep this program running. It's important for the Southeast that we have these conversations. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Chief. Thank you.